Okay, we are live.
See how long it takes me to know if I run a little late today. Someone's
Yep.
slow on the update today, as usual.
God.
Mm.
Let's see here. There we go.
Okay, that's a good one. Fine. Yeah, I could deal without the cold today. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was friggin' cold today.
Yeah.
Someone had to get up. Couldn't stay in bed all morning. Someone had to get up and walk around. It's just brutal today.
Is it bad?
Oh yeah, it was good. It was good to get out though. It's good for a while. You know, while you slept off your antifreeze hangover.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, that's true. That truth hurts. That truth hurts. Right,
Hey, Caleb.
Oh, hey, what's going on, man?
Yep, here we are. We are live from Gettysburg.
Yeah, we're in God's country. Here we are. So a pretty freezing Gettysburg today. We were out walking the battlefield, old John Gentile and Jacob and MJ Hennion. We were out there at the battlefield a while ago, and it was a brisk one. You walk in, you feel the crunch of the grass, and shockingly there was nobody out. But we just ran into MJ at the angle.
Yeah,
so she survived the night as well. We had some shenanigans last night over at the Reliance Mine.
I did not go with you guys to the mine last night. I was like, nope, done. Going back to bed.
No, that was probably smart. That cigar bar was your final. That was your Pickett's charge.
Yeah.
But it was a good time though. It
fun.
definitely was, but it definitely got cold out.
Yeah.
It really got cold out. But
morning, Barbara. Good morning, Jim. Morning, Tony.
Right.
Morning, James. Morning, Miranda.
Yeah. So today's a big day. We have our big thing today in a little while.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So I think everybody that's on here knows this, but today at 1 o'clock, we're going to be having kind of a live, or I should say like an in-person event over at Foursquare Brewing, just to celebrate our 100th episode. So it's pretty cool that we're doing that.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So that'll be 1 o'clock over at the Foursquare. They'll be thrilled to have us with that.
Well, Travis just asked if we were going to lecture today about General Lee, but Mac
yeah,
bring it. No, Travis, we're not. Unfortunately, we're not going to be there, but we are going to be at Foursquare doing our in-person event for our 100th episode.
So Travis, tell Matt I said hello, and I'm sorry I have to miss his lecture. I wanted to see that one, but we had this thing planned, so that's too bad.
We found out about it after we had this event planned, so I'm not going to be there. Have a beer for me. Oh, we will.
He'll do General Lee proud. I promise you that. I haven't seen him talk about Lee. He'll do him right. Yep. But no, that's good with that. I know that's going on. I know Jim Hester is doing his event right now as we speak. He's doing a whole, it's like World War I and stuff. He's doing some other things.
There's a lot of events going on in Gettysburg this weekend, probably because it's President's Day weekend. But then in 2 weeks from today, March 4th, they're having the Seminary Ridge Museum is having their lecture series on day 1 of Gettysburg. So that's pretty cool. And I think it's Jim Hessler, Eric Lindblade from Battle of Gettysburg podcast are speaking. Stu Dempsey, who's a licensed battlefield guide, is going to be there, and then Cody Ish and Pete Mealy from Seminary Ridge. So
that'd be a good one. I think I don't know if you mentioned, I don't know if I'm paying attention, but I think they're sold out, but I think you can still get some online.
Yes, there is a virtual option for it. So if you go to Seminary Ridge Museum and go to their events, I think you can register there, and like the virtual option I think is like $35, which is totally worth it. Like you get a day of lectures, and for any Gettys nerd like us, I mean it's going to be a great day. We wish we could be there for it, but unfortunately we can't. So, but yeah, anybody that goes to it, and I think they held the same event last year. Good morning, Mike. Morning, David. Mike says he'll be there in May.
It's coming in May before it gets too hot. But certainly if you hear this weekend today, I didn't realize it was supposed to be so cold today. I had one of those holy shit moments. I walked out the door today. It was like 22 degrees out this morning when we get out, but it was good. It was good. But no, we'll have, that's cool. But it's good to get out. It's good. We get to hang out last night with the usuals. Bill Fresnito was over at the mine, and Tom McMillan, our friend Tom, he'll be over there today. That was good. It was good. It's good to get back. It's even just for a few days and get back to the town again. Like you said, there's a lot of good things going on. There's not as many people in town really at this time of year, but it seems like there's more than usual. Probably just a long weekend.
Tony asked, is our event virtual? No, unfortunately it's not the one this afternoon. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll take a picture and stuff. But...
I mean, you can do a live thing. I don't know. I guess I don't think this thing is the most organized thing in the world. I think it's just kind of whatever, hanging out.
Yeah.
But that'll be good. That'll be good.
It'll be a good time.
So no real episodes to talk about. We're still the one from the last week we did with Alex Rose.
Rose, yeah, our 100th episode. Our next episode is going to be about Robert Smalls, so we are looking forward to that. Going to be recording that, releasing it next Saturday.
Yeah, Robert Smalls is what's fascinating about him is everybody knows his story about how he escaped Charleston on the planter, the boat, and how he did it, and that's a great story. But there's so much more to him.
Yeah,
and that we'll talk about, and how some of the things he did impacted not only that situation, but how that escape he did affected so many changes on both sides of the war. It's just such an impactful thing he did, and but he's somebody who deserves a lot of study, and I think he's somebody who people may know the name Civil War, people know who he is, but Robert Smalls is somebody who you really should be on that top A list of people, and not just for what he did by escaping, but really what he did afterwards. Some of the stuff he did politically, some of the stuff he did, and he was dealing with, people forget, the North wasn't really a friend to Black people either, and so he had to deal with a lot of that. But he really gained the admiration of guys like DuPont, guys like that, who really saw him for what he was. It's just he's a good story. So we'll have a lot of fun with that, and he's still despised in Charleston to this day. Yeah, I remember going there not so long. You mentioned Smalls, and ironically see him as a traitor.
Wow.
But that's the way it is. But we'll have fun with them. We'll have a good time with them. But and we'll get into that. And there's some other stuff coming down the pipe too.
Yep. Yeah, we want to do some. We're gonna have another guest on in February. Oh, we have our book club this week, the 22nd, next week.
Well, guess we have it on February. February's almost over.
I thought we were going to try and have MJ on, or not in February, March.
Yeah, March. Getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah. But and we got other episodes planned too, so there'll be more episodes coming and stuff. And once I'm not in school, I'll be able to record a little bit more again too.
Oh no, there's no question about that. But it was good. It's good to be back in town again. We walked the Pickett's Charge field this morning at about 8 with Jacob and with John, and that was cool. It's fascinating. Every time I walk that, I've walked it 1,000 times, but you always gain that appreciation again for that grounds and what those guys had to walk across it, and how brutal the whole thing was. And I don't think Jacob had walked it before.
Oh wow!
And so that was kind of new, but I think he kept saying over and over again, like basically the way the ground undulates, we talked about, but also how balls of steel you need to keep going. And when you hit that fence at Emmitsburg Road, to keep going. And everybody, Garnett, gets all the, and Armistead seem to get all the press about the angle, but when you realize, guys like Burkett Fry, guys like Marshall, guys like Davis, they all did too. They were on the north side of it, where the Bryant Farm is, and how they were going up, specifically against the Hayes guys, the 12th New Jersey, 1st Delaware, all those people that don't get the publicity that these other guys do. But it's just every time you go there, it just fascinates. To people would actually walk that and fight that. And it's strange just walking there in the cold, admittedly. Yeah. Because it's a different dynamic.
It's a different, well, I mean, battlefields are always different when you're not there when when you're not there at the time it was on the anniversary or something. But I think too, any battlefield has that kind of same with Pickett's Charge, Jim and his team rolling hills. I think it's like anything, like we were talking with Gentile yesterday at lunch about Monocacy and how he said, he'd studied the battle, but then when he finally went to see the battlefield, he understood what had happened there, because you don't really you get more of an appreciation for it when you go visit the place, I think. It's we've heard the same thing about Franklin, when you go to Franklin and you see what they had to do. Now it's not as preserved as, say Pickett's Charges, but you get that appreciation. I think same with Kennesaw. You told me that many times about Kennesaw Mountain as well. That
you gotta walk the ground. There's
Morning, MJ.
Hey, MJ. Yeah, good to see that she survived the polar plunge, walking the field today. That was cold today. That was tough. That was a tough.
God, you're bitchy about the cold.
I mean, I'm bitching. Look at you, just woke up and you bitch about me with the cold. Somebody had a little too much loudmouth soup last night, and she went to bed early. I had to go shenanigan with myself out at the bars last night.
I was trying to head off, like not feeling great.
That was fun. The mine was a good time last night. That was fun. It's the land of misfit toys for sure. Once it gets dark.
Yeah.
But no, about walking the ground and seeing what these guys did, and it's always a fascination because you go over where the Bliss Farm was. Speaking of Hancock and MJ. With 14th Connecticut torching that place. It always strikes me how close the Bliss Farm was to the Union line and the Confederate line for that matter, and how, it absolutely needed to be torched because it was such a dangerous place to be. But it's such an awe. Anybody who's walked that, and I'm sure anybody who's been to Gettysburg has. It's just an awe-inspiring type of place to be. And the angle is so cool too, just the way that everything's set up. So, but it's fun.
No, I'm looking forward to going out in the battlefield and doing some stuff there tomorrow. I'd like to go to Culp's Hill. I have to go see Slocum because I have a girl I go to school with. She's a descendant of his, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, she and I were working on a project together, and I asked her, I said, are you related to General Slocum? And she's like, yep, I am, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the fact that she even knew who Slocum was. Even for a lot of the Civil War people, he's not exactly a-lister. Slocum he should be, but he kind of kept the somewhat of that.
He's very fascinating. I was reading some stuff about him on the way here, and he's one of these guys, Eastern Theater, Western Theater. He got wounded at Bull Run, which I didn't realize. And he has quite the career. And Tony says to put a sweater on.
Yeah, as he says, it's from California. I know it's Northern California, but it's still California. So it's cool. But it is cool. So Slocum's a fascinating guy. He has that cool little hair. He's got the Pete Carmichael hair thing going. That's the coif,
he does.
But he paid the price as they all did. So we'll have to get up there and take a walk when you go pay homage to OO tomorrow morning.
Yep, I gotta go see OO as well.
Sunrise walk over there and watch the sunrise over the.
That is a beautiful spot to watch the sunrise, though. Get your coffee and go sit at the OO statue.
Oh yeah, no, that's the best place for it. And go up there and fire a cigar up sometimes too, not in the morning at nighttime. But it's nice place. It's great sunrises there.
Yeah, I was reading some, stuff about just about Slocum, and Howard credits him with saving basically saving them. And what he and the 12th Corps did at Culp's Hill was what kind of saved the battle.
Well, Culp's, we were talking last night. We were talking last night with one of MJ's friends, a guy who was dressed up as Buford, a guy from Iowa. We were talking about the first day's battle and how important it was. He doesn't agree so much with Howard doing really much of anything, but that was a fun debate with him with that.
I wish I'd been there for that, because
he wasn't. It wasn't a thing, but he was just. I think he, like a lot of people, minimize what he did on the first day, in setting up that July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, which was the Cemetery Hill, was the focal point of all 3 days' battles, primarily because that's what the Union Army was. But it was good. It was good having conversations with people like that. It's good having debates with people like that.
I enjoy having conversations like that, because it's, I don't know, you always learn something, and you hope that they come away learning something too from the discussion. But I got Carpenter's biography about Howard. I found it at Plymouth Library. It's called The Sword and the Olive Branch, and I was kind of flipping through it, and it's only the first 86 pages that are devoted to his Civil War career, and then it goes into what happened to him after, because he had quite the career after that too. But I read what Carpenter says about him at Gettysburg, and it's very positive. It's nothing like what Stephen Sears wrote, No. And I often wonder with Sears if it's like a order 191 thing, where he had one source that said something really terrible, and he just took that, and he didn't, he was like, well, other people say he did well. But Carpenter's got a great account of it, you know.
Oh, he does. Yeah, MJ mentions, so her friend who was Buford was staying in character the whole time. Introduced himself as John Buford the whole deal. Then he looked like an older version of Buford. He had the mustache, but it was funny. And so he was talking. I go, General Buford, I have a question. He goes, what the hell were you doing in Gettysburg on the 30th of June anyway? And it was clear that was the last question he ever expected, as he tried to stick with it, but he couldn't stay in character with that. That was pretty funny. But it's good. But that, like, the mind always brings back interesting characters, to say the least. But that was a good conversation with that. To do that, I'm glad people do that. Her living history group, MJ does. Gettysburg is honored that everybody knows MJ, and she's awesome. But the group she's a part of is interesting, and I didn't really understand. I talked to her this morning about it, and I understand a lot more of what they do. And so it's pretty neat they do that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like anything else, it's a labor of love, but you're going to deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly with any volunteer group. But it's good they do that. That's pretty neat. It was fun talking with them last night. But it was pretty neat.
I wonder if there's anybody that portrays Howard.
Oh God, you and your Howard. I mean,
I was just thinking that would be.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it'd be fun to join. That'd be cool. We were talking this morning. Maybe I could do Charles Tilden.
That'd be cool.
I'd have to be an arrogant New Englander, though. I don't know if I can pull that one off. But I guess we'll have to find a way.
Mike said he's coming up here with his brother tomorrow to show him Gettysburg for the first time. Our ancestor was killed at Pickett's Charge, and we're probably going to do the charge route. Caleb said if you grew your beard a little bit more, you might be able to portray Howard.
Oh, I grew it way out. That one.
You did. You did. But no, it was I was really happy that I found because the Sword and Olive Branches, like, it wasn't, I was like, they probably won't have this book anywhere. And I looked on Plymouth Public Library, and sure enough, they had it, and I got it in.
Be a shame if that got lost.
Oh yeah. Well, you can get it on Amazon for like $35.
But yeah, but it's good to, it's always fascinates me when people, I'm just thinking about her group that she's in. They can put so much time and blood, sweat, and tears into this. And it's good because it's not reenactors; it's living historians, which tells the story of these people. And she does Paul and Cushman, and we were talking about some of the other people in her group, and they do some other stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a fascinating thing. There's no question.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. It's a way to, I think it's one way to keep the history alive, the same way like Lisa Samia does that with her poetry, and we all do that. Jacob with his history book podcast, same thing, right? Like, you're keeping kind of the history alive of these different events and the people. And the important thing that we've always said is to talk about the people, especially the ones that aren't as well known, that don't have the voice in history.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why, that's one of the reasons I love studying Howard, is he doesn't have the voice. And he deserves it just as much as, Sherman and Grant do. And same for Slocum. Like, Slocum is a really interesting individual. And on the Confederate side of things, obviously there's Claiborne, but then the other one I like learning about is Beauregard, but we call him Beauregard on here. And then Joseph E. Johnston.
Oh, it does. Oh, Mike, I was just looking at them to read the comments. I'm reading comments today, Mary.
Yeah.
Very unusual. Do you know what regiment your ancestor was in, Mike? He was killed at Pickett's Charge. I don't know if he knows, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to because Jacob had mentioned he had a relative who was killed at Gettysburg too, which I didn't realize that until today. One of the Carolinians who would have been under Marshall.
Wow.
Under Pettigrew, if that were the case. But I can't remember if he said Pickett's Charge or Gettysburg overall, but I thought he said Pickett's Charge. I thought he did. No, he did. You know why? Because he says he would have been killed by someone in the 8th Ohio. So I'm not sure where he would have been then, because that was where Davis was. So I guess we'll find out. But either way, that's it's cool. People can trace back their history to that. I know MJ, we saw her earlier. She said she had a relative killed at Gettysburg too, and it's a lot. I bet you most people have some sort of Civil War history lineage in their families. Most people do.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago, for one, and so most people go back just a couple hundred years. You can probably find some. I know I have one. So
I have distant relatives that were living in the South at the time of the Civil War. So I would imagine that they probably fought. I've never looked into it though that closely to see, but a lot of any Finchers that live in the U.S., a lot of them live in the South, Georgia, Tennessee. area. There's a couple in like Michigan and New York as well, but they're not like, and it's not a very common name at all. And but I think they probably fought in the Civil War. Oh, Ski said he's listening and driving. See you soon. Wendy is texting for me.
Yeah.
Jim,
I'm glad. It's funny you put that in there. It's so funny.
Yep. Wendy is texting for me.
But drive safe. That's pretty fun.
Jim said, I have a relative-in-law who was in the 8th Illinois Cavalry. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it's so neat about
They
it.
were Western Theater? Jim, were they Western Theater? Because I do recognize, like, I've heard of them before. The 8th Illinois.
Yeah, but it's kind of, and then it kind of brings back that natural curiosity and studying about family, because obviously you say how personal this battle, war is, and nothing's more personal than having an ancestor, especially dying in one of the battles. So that's pretty neat.
Miranda said that her 2 times great grandfather was killed at Pickett's Charge.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Miranda, do you know what regiment is?
Yeah, it'd be cool to know.
I don't know why I'm fascinated about what regiment is today, but it's pretty neat that if you can trace them, because Pickett's Charge, what's neat about it, it's very delineated. There's so many good maps about Pickett's Charge, and they have a real good idea. And on the Union side, if you look at the monuments, you're talking the 20th Mass, you're talking 59th New York, but the way they're all right next to each other, they're very marked. And so so if you have a relative who fought on either side, that's part of that battle, you can almost gauge exactly where they were.
Mm-hmm. And Jim said that it was Gettysburg. Yeah, that's why I know the Illinois Cavalry. Those were the guys that fired the first shot.
Yeah, Marcellus Jones, they were from Chicago.
Yep, that's where Jim's relative.
Oh yeah. No, Marcellus Jones, he's an interesting guy too, because there's a debate about who fired the first shot. And I know they just did a whole bunch of work over at that house over there down off Knoxland. So you can definitely check it out. Definitely one of the more dangerous intersections if you're going to pull over and check and see something historical.
Miranda said 33rd Virginia Infantry.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
The old Stonewall Brigade.
They're Virginia, so yeah. So you're talking Pickett's guys. Then they were all Virginians, Wow. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
So yeah, I mean, but that's pretty neat. You can do that because it just makes it more personal and allows you to have more of an appreciation for it.
Oh yeah, it does.
The 75th anniversary, the one over 1938. There's actually a video. There's actually a book, but there's a video you can watch that has you see the old Granny, the old codgers hanging out. That's mostly where it came from. But there's a book that came out about it there's a real good, I can't blank on the name of it, but it tells a really good story about the veterans. And it was one story where he's this old Confederate's walking the field and he stops. Right, he's walking with the author, and he stops. And the author goes, well, "Why do you stop here?" He goes, "Because this is where I got hit." And he explains he was hit by a shell, and it's it's like wow, and there's a lot of that. But there's a lot of cool things like that.
Yeah.
And that's not obviously we're not talking Gettysburg because that's what we happen to be right now. But overall, you can look at any of these battles. And trace back.
I think it's fascinating that the ones. Caleb. So one of my ancestors may have been the man who shot Reynolds. Jim, you were right about Illinois Cavalry firing the first shot. My Tennessee ancestors were the first to fire for the South. That's really cool.
Was that one shot by Jones? Assuming he was the guy who did it. There's no reason to think he wasn't. Delayed the Confederates 2 hours to get battle formation in that one shot. And gave Buford the time.
Yeah. Mike said his ancestor was the 14th for Virginia, Armstead.
So he was the right flank with Armstead with the 8th Virginia right next to him. And those guys are ballers though, because when you will look at, and again, anybody who's walked that field to make it across that field, to cross the road and still keep going. You cross that west wall where those Philadelphia guys were. I was joking today, it's probably the last guys from Philadelphia to win something,
Yeah.
But to get across that, not many people, if any, would recross that wall when they crossed it. It's just that it's such a thing. So yeah. So if you're on the flank of Armistead's guys. And you got to follow Kemper, and you're going full banana right at the ankle.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's
and there's someone else on here. CF said 2 great-grandfathers and 1 great-grandfather were in Southern units, 1 severely wounded, 2 captured and in prison. Wow, that's interesting to see the like kind of the families and stuff. Another thing I was thinking about too, and I just thought it's because I was talking about Slocum, was I didn't like, he died early. Like, he died 1894, April 14th, 1894, which is exactly that would be 3 years and 2 months to the day after Sherman passed away. And he was one of Sherman's pallbearers. He and Howard were the ones that planned the funeral, and they were honorary pallbearers. But the one thing I was thinking is, like, a lot of people, you know, there's the whole trifecta of like Sherman, Sheridan, Grant being credited with winning the Civil War. And there was one, like, that Sheridan biography I read. I don't like Sheridan that much. There was, you know, the author mentions that at his funeral, there was one guy that stood for hours after the burial in Arlington, and it was Sherman. And apparently his death was like really affected him, because it was like Sherman was like, well, I'm the last one now. And I sometimes wonder if Howard felt that way with him, and with Slocum and Sherman both dying before him. If, you know, you share something. I think they all did. I think it happened with all soldiers, but you know, you kind of share something. And there's Howard. He's alive till 1809 or 1909.
1809. What the hell? I pulled that one off.
1909. And like, I think it's, I don't know. I think sometimes, you know, the generals were just as affected by it too. Like, when you go through something with somebody like that, you know, with the March to the Sea, that, you know, it's like, wow, I'm the only one left now of the 3 of us that did this thing, you know. And then too, the other thing as well is, like, so Slocum is the first one to walk into Atlanta when they take the city, and he's the first one to walk into Savannah when they took it. And I thought that was pretty cool that he was the one to do that. CF said great-great-grandfather John Barry was in Slocum's brigade. Slocum's cannon is in front of the Confederate Memorial Hall in New Orleans. Yes, Miranda, I don't like Sheridan either. Mike said I'm reading A Strange and Blighted Land. I'm sure most of those guys had to have PTSD after witnessing that. Yeah, we've talked about that many times on here. Latest episode we did on Rosecrans, my opinion is that Rosecrans had PTSD. He had it very bad at Chickamauga. Because if you read, you know, how going into Chickamauga, how Rosecrans is, you know, you look at his Tullahoma campaign, which is one of the most brilliant up there with Vicksburg in the Civil War. And he just kind of like loses, just, you know, the wheels fell off at that point for poor Rosecrans. But I think a lot of them had it, and they had to deal with it in different ways. Like, I mean, and I think sometimes, you know, I wonder if sometimes writing the memoirs was a way that some of these guys dealt with it, to kind of get their thoughts out on paper, because, like, you know, Howard's are very detailed and kind of graphic at times, you know. When
yeah, certainly. I mean, you see how many. I mean, most of these guys are regiments. I see James Thompson, 72nd PA. That's cool. So he would write with the Webb's guys right in the middle. I wish I had a relative who fought this battle. I'm very envious of that stuff. And
I would be like, I would love to find out if I had a relative who fought at somewhere like Monocacy or Stones River. I think that would be really cool, because those were huge battles too. Like, I mean, and what, not huge in like size, but just in their impact that they have on the war. Yeah, Leonard, fuck Sheridan. Yep. I agree. Caleb, Leonard's gonna love this, but Caleb said that you need a Sheridan hat.
I should get a Sheridan hat. I could probably pull that off. I think he's got that pork pie weird type of hat. That'd be a good one.
Yeah,
I need to buy it. I got so many Civil War hats. I got it. That's the problem. This stuff is so addictive. You go to any battlefield, go anywhere you want to wear this stuff, because you can't really. I don't want to say you can't really wear it at home, but you kind of like an idiot dressed up in that stuff, walking to Dunkin' Donuts in Plymouth. You know what I mean?
Oh well, I don't care.
I know, but it's good. It's pretty good. So, hey, Lisa, what's going on?
Good morning,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
Lisa behaved herself pretty well, I thought, for the most part. She was drinking that lemonade over at Foursquare, so she had to keep, she had to keep
Leonard, no one should own a Sheridan hat. Leonard said that.
I think Leonard's a closet Sheridan fan. I think it's a cry for. I think it's all. I think Miranda is too. I think it's all a cry for help.
No, we do not, like, the three of us do not like Sheridan. And I mean, I read the biography about him and I hated him even more after it. But like, I find him interesting. He's very talented with what he does, but he's a complete, like, you know, just, he's a jerk. I mean, a lot of them were, but he's just like, what he did to Warren is terrible. And
he's not the only one.
I know he's not. I know he's not, but he's like Grant's little lapdog who could do no wrong.
He's got that short man syndrome. You could tell. Yeah. He's the type of guy who just embellished. Where he had a couple of great moments in the war, and you sure he was that guy who would be happy to talk all about it.
Leonard, preach it. Caleb said he's bringing you a Sheridan hat. Oh,
that'd be awesome.
But like,
pretty fun.
The thing with Sheridan is, he just, I don't know. There's just something about him that I don't like.
Oh, he's an opportunist, like a lot of them are, though. But he was pretty flagrant about it. I mean, what he did to Warren was, was around that Five Forks thing was really, really bad.
Yeah, and I know Warren made mistakes, like, and they all did, but like that was a complete Mean Girls, like, high school thing that happened to him, and and Tony mentions his Indian campaign sealed the deal for me not liking him, that as well, and they all had stuff like that in their history.
Well, I mean, the Indian thing, I mean, you could look at Sherman for that one.
Oh, Sherman is also he is to blame for the near extinction of the buffalo as well. Like, these guys don't have great things on the record.
Sherman, Custer, Sheridan, and shall I say Lincoln. He's
Howard, right? Howard as well was out there with them, but I think
he was.
But yeah, there's just something about Sheridan, and the whole, like, the sad thing about Warren is he got his name cleared, I think, after he died, but he was so bitter that he's buried in civilian clothing. It's terrible what happened to him.
His grave in Rhode Island in Newport is kind of a sad one.
It's sad.
He's buried not far from Isaac and Hazard Stevens, right around the corner from there, right in Newport. Newport's awesome, by the way. I've never been to Newport. Go to Newport. But he literally took his anger to the grave. He did.
Yep.
But again, I mean, he was no picnic either. He wasn't too. But Sheridan was definitely the guy. He was the one who he's the guy at work who you do all the work and he takes all the credit for you and then fires you afterwards because that's who he was. And there's something, who the hell are we talking to about the most punchable faces in the Civil War?
Oh, Gentili. And we said it was like, I said the most punchable face was Alfred Pleasanton.
Pleasanton's up there, but I know Sheridan's up there. That was a fun little bar conversation. Most punchable faces in the Civil War. I think Pleasanton might. You can Google him if you want to see that. He has that shit-eating grin, that thing about him.
Yep.
That'd be a good one.
Him and who's the other guy? S.D. Lee. He's another one.
Oh, God,
he's got that picture where he's sitting there like, yeah, I did awesome things. Meanwhile, he does his own media campaign after he loses. What is it? What's the battle he loses, but then said he won?
What the hell was that? Not Mobile.
Starts with T. Tupelo.
Tupelo, yeah. So for some reason, I think I see all kinds of things. But Battle of Tupelo, he lost. He went to the newspaper and said he won, and it just took off that they won the battle. So that's good. So MJ, the Pats beat the Giants in 2 Super Bowls. There you go. I'm gonna start telling that to make it true.
Jim said Butler is the most punchable face.
Yeah, you know what? Butler might be. God, it's just the stupid conversations. Yeah. But yeah, Butler definitely. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's so many like that. Seeing his grave was interesting too. Speaking of graves, because he's buried right next to Delbar Ames.
Yeah,
from 20th May.
Ames married his daughter, right?
Who says buried in Newport? That would be Gouverneur K. Warren, and Hazard and Isaac Stevens.
Yeah, Hazard was
killed at Chantilly, and Hazard was the one who what the hell?
Hiked up Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier, yeah. I forgot what mountain it was, but he was the son. He was right there, but that's tough. I mean, but yeah, the Delbar Ames is they have very similar looking gravestones. But so it's a kind of a pain in the ass. They have it like roped off, so you can't get really near it. Like you can't get right up to the gravestones.
Mm.
So you have to. So the closest you can get is probably like 50 feet away, and who knows what it is.
Mike mentions the 14th Virginia got lucky and Knoll right before Cowan's first New York independent battery gave them cover. Peace Butler. Leonard Plessy has a damn ugly hat. Sheridan.
The Sheridan hat thing, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a cool hat. I think, you know why? Because it's different. Now we have a lot of fun with Leonard on this. I think some jerk photoshopped a picture of Leonard wearing the hat, if I'm correct. I don't know who that dastardly person would have done such a thing. But that was that is true.
But yeah, like I think, and Sheridan lost a lot of his papers. They were burned in the Chicago fire, so we don't have a lot left for him. But there is a couple biographies. But yeah, I can't stand him.
Like, did you never used to hate him though? You have a fiery burn for this guy or a hatred for Sheridan. I don't know, the more I study him and then reading the Warren biography. And I remember a Mary who was all excited to find his gravestone in Washington. Mm-hmm. And you ran up to it.
No, that was Gibbon.
You know what it says on his gravestone? Sheridan. One of the classic Mary comics. That's right. It was Gibbon.
Gibbon was like kind of my big one that I really, really wanted to see when I was at Arlington. Caleb said, wasn't he 5'4"? He looked funny on a horse. Yeah, Sheridan needed a step stool to get up on his horse.
Like a booster seat.
Yeah, because and if you've seen the horse at you can go see they stuffed the horse, it's taxidermied at the Smithsonian. The horse is gigantic. Like it is. Rienzi was a big horse. I think not like, and then it's funny, we've done an episode on horses that made me think of Stonewall's horse, Little Sorrel, who was a Morgan horse, and they were smaller. But I think like Grant had Cincinnati, who was the son of the fastest thoroughbred in the US at the time. Fastest thoroughbred at the time was Lexington. And anyway, he was a big horse too.
Yeah.
Lexington or Cincinnati was. And Cincinnati was given to him by someone in Chattanooga after the battles. It became his favorite horse. And then Grant also had one called Jeff Davis and Egypt.
Of course. You know who else had a horse named Rienzi?
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah.
So must have been a popular name. Must have been like Jennifer in the 80s.
I find it fascinating knowing the names of the horses. Because
old Baldy over here, and his head's sticking out of a wall. So he's still around. Obviously, Traveler was he was stuffed and torn for a while. So his body was falling apart. They finally had to bury him. There's a lot of it's fascinating, the horse study, because these horses they were there. Lee had Lucy and had Traveler, and it was like family. And Mosby's horses, all the ones he had, and it's just they stuck with them.
And they were also very close to them too. Like they were like almost like extensions of their personalities. Like apparently Little Sorrel was a little bit weird, like Stonewall. Rienzi was very fiery and grumpy, a lot like Sheridan.
Well, the troops used to laugh, when they saw Stonewall on the horse, because it looked so ridiculous. Because of how small it was.
Howard's horse was called Speedy Retreat. Jeez.
Howard's horse was probably the Kentucky Derby winner. Actually, it was probably Howard outran the horse.
Oh God. Leonard Grant also had one called Kangaroo. Forrest apparently had one named Satan.
Satan.
That's but he also had 32 horses shot thrown under him.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, is you have to realize that you could lose these pretty quickly.
Grant is on Kangaroo at his statue at Vicksburg. That's pretty cool.
See, if Grant was cool, he would have ridden a real kangaroo. They would have called it horse.
Jeb Stuart had one called High Fly, I think, or maybe that was Longstreet.
Was it a Firefly or something?
Firefly.
I think that's what it was. I might be wrong, but it was something like
that. They had and then I know Jeff Davis had one called Blackjack. As well.
No, there's a good list somewhere online that you could look it up and see all that, all the horse names. But it's kind of funny, the ones who actually would have named them.
Yeah.
But no, and you can see it's neat when you see the equestrian statues.
Yeah. Well, I think Reynolds is on. Who's Reynolds on? Is he on? He had 2 horses. And he's on Prince. Is he on Prince? Or no, he's on Fancy, isn't he?
Fancy is the one on the statue.
Yeah.
And it's always funny that the Reynolds statue is on a horse, the Buford statue is not, considering those, they're right next to each other. But yeah, Fancy was, Fancy was the one here. Our friend Bill would teach his daughter Hannah all the horse names. Yeah. So they drive by because he lives. At the time they were living up at Chambersburg Pike. They go, okay, there's John Reynolds. Who's his horse? She go, Fancy. Yeah, and that's how cool. She was. But it's a good way to teach him. That's a good way to see it. But it's neat to see the equestrian horses. There's always like the urban legends about how 1 hoof up meant this and 2 meant that.
Yeah, and apparently that's not true.
Well, there are some battlefields that they try to do it that way, but it's just here there are some that are coincidental like that. But it's always fun hearing the overhearing conversation when people talk about this stuff. And some of the stuff might be right, some of the stuff might be wrong. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, MJ mentions the great book is called The Horse at Gettysburg by Chris Bagley. So that's
when we did the horse episode, we were talking about the post stuff. Like the horses that were lame that survived. Most of them were left behind, but they were still property of the federal government. Yeah. So you'd have locals who would nurse them back to health, and if the government wanted them, they'd come and get them back. Otherwise, they'd stay here. But they talked about how the week's worth of burning horses, and over by the Leicester farm where Meade's headquarters was, there were horse bones out for years in every yard. And so when you think about E.P. Alexander in his book Fighting for the Confederacy, I always remember this. He talked about all the dead and injured horses at the Peach Orchard and how sad it was, and about that, because it was all over the place. Yeah, and you don't think about you don't really think so much about the horses and the mules that were killed in these battles. But no. But it seems like most of the soldier diaries at some point make reference to a dying animal, so you can tell it affected them. No question.
Yeah, Sherman really would Sherman loved animals, and he especially loved his horses, and he was on Sam throughout the Atlanta campaign, and I think Sam was the primary horse that he rode on the March to the Sea, and he also had Duke as well. And he talks in his memoirs about just the suffering of the horses, how he couldn't stand it, and how that would be his breaking point, or you could hear them after the battles, and then he knew they were in pain. And the thing is the horses, they don't know why they're there, right? At the battle. And the thing was, if you had artillery, you took the horses out. That's one thing that Claiborne learned very quickly. That's why he made the sharpshooters, a lot of his men into sharpshooters after Shiloh and all that.
The horses for the artillery. It takes 14 horses and 10 men to move one gun when you're back in the limber and the caisson. Yeah. And so if you could take out the horses, it's tough to move the guns out. And we talked about but you could retreat and prolong and things like that. But if you take the guns out, the horses out, it really makes life difficult on trying to get those guns out of it. We talked here at Gettysburg how difficult it was. Yeah. There's a lot of stories about that specifically.
Caleb said, has anyone seen the low budget Civil War film called The Colt? I've never even heard of it, but there's another one to watch. Mike said the amount of hay and oats they had to feed them was crazy. Frank mentions that he plays Red Dead Redemption video game, and he always names his horse after a general, and he's currently bonded with my General Sherman horse. That's very cool. But I think I have a question for you. In your Gordon biography that you've been reading, does he say what the name of his horse was?
He mentions it. He doesn't even mention it. He doesn't mention his. Well, I'm not reading the autobiography. It's the biography. Yeah. But there's no mention of
the horse.
Of the horse at all.
I love when I find that out, the names of them. I love to know what they called them, because they had such neat names.
Well, it's so random. I mean, just, the Jefferson Davis horse, the name after things like that. Satan. All these ones, but it's pretty cool. If they name them, it should show you a little bit of insight into their mindset.
Well, I think they cared. They cared about them. Like Meade would often, after the Civil War, sad Baldy outlived Meade. He was his horse at his funeral, the riderless horse, but he would go riding, just him and Baldy. And I often wondered if that was like, they'd seen so much stuff together that they understood each other. And I think for Meade, it was like a type of therapy. Go off on his own riding the horse. No one went with him. He just went off riding by himself. And he did that a lot. And I think that was a way for him to kind of get past all that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Swell's horse was named Rifle.
Yeah, there's actually, I mentioned a bit ago, there's a comprehensive list where it tells all the generals and all the names of the horses. Some of them had a whole bunch, not just the Forrest in the world, but a lot of the guys had a lot of horses, and some bonded with them, some didn't. But certainly there's the horses would really protect their owner. Yeah. And you wonder how, they talk after the war about, these horses would be on farms and lightning would crash or thunder would crash and the horse would freak out. And you wonder if horses get PTSD or not. So, but they remember how the hell they all went through. Yeah. There's the things that people don't always think about.
No, I think the horses are a fascinating thing. And Ken Masterson Brown, in his books on the retreat from Gettysburg, as well as General Meade, he talks a lot about the horses. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a really good, there's a good documentary on YouTube actually that is narrated by him. And it's about horses in the Civil War, and it's very fascinating. That's one of the ones I used for the research I did on our episode about horses, but it's very fascinating.
No, that's yeah. I mean, didn't talk about horses, but it's interesting to when you look at how how many were here at this battle and other battles, and how many died in the post stuff. You can only imagine the absolute mess that these people in these towns had to deal with. Yeah, all these big battles, and it's something that there are tours here that you can take. The post-battle tours is probably just the summertime thing, but they really go into depth to explain the situation when the armies left, about what they
like how messy it was and how much apparently it smelled really bad in Gettysburg for quite a while.
It's I mean, it just, you can only imagine. I mean, thousands of dead humans and horses and latrines and just this is all happening in the summertime when it's hot as hell. Yeah, you can only imagine. The smell of the Dairy Queen must have been brutal.
Oh god,
all that
DQ. Do you know who didn't like horses but had to ride one was Claiborne?
Well, Grant was the same way too.
No, Grant actually liked horses.
But who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of something. I know he was. A lot of these guys had fascinations where they who the hell am I thinking this? There was one general who was scared to death of horses. And I know it wasn't Grant. No, there was a Union one. I know Grant, because Grant used to ride them all the time at West Point. I'm trying to think who the hell it was. I'm blank on the name, but there's been a few who were just deathly afraid of riding horses, which I don't blame them, because a horse, if everybody's ridden a horse, is the most powerful thing. You ride one of those as just pure muscle. And they can just, they can do whatever they want to you whenever they want. Yeah,
and I think that's why, like Claiborne was forced to ride a horse when he became higher up in rank. He had avoided it at all costs, but I love that his statue. I love that he's not on a horse at Ringgold Gap.
Well, that'd be kind of it'd be ironic if he was.
Yeah, because he didn't like them.
So we'll have have some fun going forward with some of this other stuff. It's already like mid-February. The time is just going so fast, and we had some warm weather, which was kind of a tease. So it makes you think that spring is coming. Baseball starts pretty soon, so I guess spring is almost here. I guess it'll be nice to be able to get to these battlefield things. And we're gonna go down to Richmond, Mary, in April.
We are.
That'll be fun. We're gonna go see Lisa speak over at the Tredegar. She's gonna be doing her thing, so we're gonna go visit her down there. That'll be cool.
That'll be cool
to go there, and then we go to Atlanta a few days later.
Yep, that'll be really fun.
Yes, it's a good week off right there. But yeah. So that'll be fun a little bit later on, going to the four score.
Yep.
We were there yesterday.
Yep.
You can always go there anyway. I hope people come out. I mean, nothing crazy, but hopefully a lot of people.
Yeah, it's at 1:00. I don't think anybody on here is going to be there because they all live far away. So, but we'll see some of them. We'll see Caleb in July at the anniversary.
Yeah, that'll be good too, because that'll be, obviously be a lot more people. It'll be a lot warmer. That's for damn sure. But we'll have a good time with that, and it's good to do it. It's amazing that 100 episodes is a lot. It's something. It's you think back from time to time. It's just one of those things, but it's all fun. It's
so we appreciate everybody's support on here. Like, we appreciate everybody's support, and not just for the episodes, but like coming on the round tables, the book clubs, coming on here on Saturday mornings to hang out with us. Like, it's so much fun.
What's cool is the meeting people. That's the best part about it. Because a lot of times with people you meet for the first time, you feel like you've known them for years, which is kind of neat. That's part of the community.
Oh, it's really cool.
It's just definitely fun. We saw Tom last night. Was Tom McMillan married?
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, somebody had to go to bed early, so you missed out. But I got to go out last night and we hang with him. He's a good dude. We'll see him today too. And that was a big. And Gentili had the pleasure of meeting Fresnito.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he had his ear talked off.
God.
I see. He goes over and gets the book. He's just flipping through it, and I'm like, oh, Gentili's going to be off the grid now for the next 2 hours talking to him. But it was good. It's cool because it's the people you can run into and meet.
Yeah.
At these places,
Oh, it is. It's very cool. Some people are talking about the miniseries North and South, which I haven't seen in years. Need to watch that one again.
I always confuse North and South and the Blue and the Gray.
Yeah.
Which is the one with Patrick Swayze?
North and South.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. I thought it was really good. But yeah.
There were little things about it. What's funny was the North and the South. It was the movie I'm thinking of, and I think it is the plantation that was Boone Plantation just outside of Charleston, is where they filmed a lot of those scenes. And so I got to tour that. And I had a Gettysburg t-shirt on, and the tour person gave me shit for wearing a Gettysburg t-shirt. And she told me she said that's where her country took their mortal wound. That's what she told me. And she thought I was being disrespectful. But what's interesting too is the right behind Boone Plantation, there's a stream where a lot of the clay was used to build Fort Sumter.
Yeah.
That's what so that was little things like that it just aren't interesting to anybody except to me. But I thought it was pretty neat.
No, it's cool. It's interesting. Frank says he's thinking of coming to the 160th too, so that's pretty cool. He's out in California. Caleb said, any idea when the book club invites will be sent? Sometime this weekend, probably tomorrow. I'll send them out, or we'll send them out. So, and if anybody's on here would like to come to the book club on Wednesday night, we're having Alexander Rose on to talk about his book, The Lion and the Fox, which we just recorded an episode with about and released it. 6:00 Eastern via Zoom. Civil War Breakfast Club at gmail.com, and we'll send you an invite to that.
Yeah, Alex was fun, and Jacob, he does the podcast, The History Book. He just dropped an episode with him too. I just love hearing the guy's voice because he just talks and talks and talks.
Oh yeah, he's a great person. MJ said congrats on 100 episodes and everything you do for Civil War history. Well, thank you, MJ, and thanks for all you do too.
Yeah, MJ, we mentioned before, she does a lot. It's for people like her and other people to put everything they do into this. It's a passion. It goes beyond a passion. It's in your blood. You almost have a calling or a responsibility to self to do it, and she does a good job with that.
Yeah, she does.
But a lot of people do it. Just seeing the people here, these towns, dress up in the uniform and stay in character and just know the stuff and consistently always learning.
Yeah.
Because no one knows everything, but it's fun to try to learn as much as you can and just to try to do it. The ones who try to know everything, those are the dangerous ones. Those ones to watch out for.
What's that?
The people who claim to know everything, kind of like you are with Howard.
I do not. No, but there are people that claim to know everything and that everybody is wrong in their opinion.
Oh, I know. Well, you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
But and then there are certain people who it becomes an ego thing where it's like anything else. Well, I know more than you. You know more than so. Everyone who studies anything, and it's not unique to this field, but there are people out there who get their nose bent out of shape for stupid reasons. But
big time.
But it's fun. It's funny though because not to, we're not talking about the stitch Nazi people in uniforms, but just the people who, who sit there and say, you probably don't even know the 13th Alabama, do you? Those people.
Or like, how dare you think Howard is like,
how long have you studied Burke at Fry for? Because I've studied him for 20 years. I don't know, little things like that. but it's fun. I mean, those people don't bother me so much because at least they're who cares?
Yeah.
But it is pretty funny.
Yeah, we should probably get ready to jump off here soon too. We were just going to do a shorter one today because we have friends coming here and
we got people on the way here, and we got to get over to Foursquare, which is about 100 yards away from this house. It's just around the corner, but still gonna get ready for it. But the people on the social media, the top ones too. That's the problem.
That's what Caleb's saying, and Caleb's like, because you're a woman, then you can't possibly know as much as a man. And yes, I've encountered that before. So is MJ. So is Miranda. Like
we were just talking about that with her this morning, or at the angle about that.
Yeah, there's this whole thing that because you're a female, and then like the one thing that really does bother me is when other females make an assumption that other females don't like to study military history. I saw that recently in a Facebook comment, and it really bothered me because I was like, whoa, don't make assumptions for me. I love studying the military, the history and the tactics and all that. Like, I love it. I did my undergrad degree is in classical studies, and I enjoyed learning about like the battles and the wars and the generals and all that more so than the social history. It just didn't interest me. But women can like, we love studying it. We love, learning about it and all that.
No, it's definitely can be an old boys club type thing.
Yeah.
But again, it's those type of people are ones who it speaks more of them.
Yes.
Really. And it's unfair, and nobody should be attacking anybody for anything, especially if you're going to do it on social media, especially if you're going to do it under a fake name and hide. That's the coward approach, unfortunately. But there's a lot of that. Yeah,
and I think too, like, just I don't know, like study who you study, like who you like. Bjorn's on here. Hey, Bjorn. Bjorn is from the Great Abraham Lincoln Bookshop in Chicago, which is an amazing place. And they do definitely like their page on Facebook because they do a lot of Facebook Lives with authors on there that are really, really good. MJ's got to pop off and get in her uniform.
Yeah, have fun, MJ. Well, we'll see you tonight. We'll be doing some shenanigans here later on this evening. So, Margaret, we will take it. We'll take a picture of the copse of trees. I was just there a little while ago, and we'll post that out. That'll be fun.
Yeah, so thanks to everybody for jumping on here this morning and hanging out with us. Yeah, it's a little bit shorter today because we do the other in-person event, but we wanted to be sure to come on here and say hi to everybody and talk like we usually do. Bjorn mentions Carol Reardon, Ashley Lusky, Leslie Gordon, all fantastic military historians.
I challenge anyone to have a conversation with Carol Reardon and come away with it with anything but all our respect for her and anybody, because she's the harvester of sorrow of the Civil War. She knows every horrible, sad story of a soldier ever told.
Yeah.
But she knows her stuff and she teaches. So she used to teach over here at the college on the corner here, but I'm not sure if she still does. But there's a lot of people who know their stuff, and it doesn't matter where you fall on the gender scale. But so we'll jump off. We're gonna get ready.
Yeah.
So 1 o'clock, if you're in the neighborhood, come by. Maybe we could jump.
Maybe we'll try and pop on, but we might pop on here again sometime from the battlefield this weekend. Maybe
we'll try to do something fun with that. So hopefully, if you're in the neighborhood, come on by, and if not, then we'll definitely hopefully see you at the book club, which is the 22nd.
Yep, this Wednesday.
Okay. So that's this Wednesday. I guess it is, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll do that. And so but we'll definitely try to do another one of these the weekend in July when more people are here. Whatever, just make more of it, just to hang out. So all right, so we're gonna jump off. So have a great rest of the day, great rest of the weekend. I can't talk today.
Yeah, well, thanks to everybody for jumping on here. So we will see you guys next week, hopefully, and maybe we'll see some of you at the event today at 1 o'clock at Foursquare.
Yep, stay warm. That's the goal today.
Yep. See you guys later.
Bye, guys. Bye.